What is good, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Man, it has been a long time in the making that I've wanted to do this, and it's finally here. So let's get right into it with the Champions League match between Barcelona and Inter de Milan. Some key takeaways from this game, and there was a lot of talking points. First one, Barcelona did not look good today. Is now currently third place in that group, meaning that if the group stage ended like today, Barca would be playing in the Europa League for the second consecutive year. And another thing to note here is that a perfect record in La Liga, obviously, with that one draw to Rayo Vallecano and then all the wins he's had. But in his last three away games in the Champions League, he has lost all three of them, which is not good. And if you look at the match stats for today's game, Barcelona had 7 shots to Inter's 5. They had 2. They were both tied on shots on target with 2. Barca had the ball 72% of the time compared to a 28% from Inter. When I read these numbers, you would have thought Barca would have dominated. And Inter only was able to win 1-0. But here's a key thing to remember. Their discipline cost them in today's game because they had so many offsides just in that first half alone. They had a penalty called, which then the VAR had to review and take away because the player was offsides. They had a goal immediately following after that was called off because of offsides. I think if Inter can get their discipline better for next week's game in Barca, this game won't be close. Lewandowski, for the second consecutive Champions League game, didn't look good. He struggled in Munich, where he really didn't look good. He struggled tonight. And look, I will say this is not a good time for Barca to be getting into these struggles, having El Clasico just a couple weeks away. So do I think Barca will be in the Europa League? Quite frankly, yes, because I think Barca, they have to play Inter again. They have to play Bayern again too. We saw what Bayern did today. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Now, the one thing that I do find interesting is Barca's pass accuracy was at 91%. And yeah, they have good playmakers, but they were never truly dangerous. They were never explosive. They weren't the Barca that we've seen in La Liga. Barcelona, a lot to improve on if they want to keep their hopes of reaching the next round of the Champions alive, and if they want to advance further and further, because it's going to get to a point, even if you manage to get out of the group, where you're going to have to meet a team like a Man City with Haaland, even a PSG. Atletico's playing really well. Barcelona has to get their things together. I know this was a tough group. When you see the group that Barca has, like you see the players that they are putting out on the field, Rafinha, Lewandowski, De Jong, Pedri, Gavi, all those guys, you should be winning against teams like Inter. This is an Inter Milan team that didn't have Lukaku. Martinez was banged up, and they did not. And this is an Inter Milan team that they barely had the possessions, had less passes, had less pass accuracies, more yellow cards. And now this is the one stat that I find very Inter Milan had 7 offsides to Barcelona 0. If you reduce that number of offsides, I don't think we're talking about just a 1-0 game. Now, I will say this, the refereeing was a little, all right. I think he missed chances for both teams, but that handball at the end, I believe it was Ansu Fati who did it. I do believe that should have been called, and I think if that gets called, Barca probably makes it, and we are now talking about a 1-1 draw, which is a lot better than, at least you get some points in a draw and not in a loss. So I think Barca has a lot to improve on, especially for next week. It's worrying that they could be playing in the Europa League for the second straight year. Let's move on to another Champions League game between Bayern Munich and don't really know how to pronounce his name, but I believe it's Victor, I think. Bayern absolutely dominated. 5-0. Besides the 5-0, I want to talk about Sadio Mane looked really good. Leroy Sané, but Gnabry, player of the match for me. He was incredible. That first goal, if you go back and you watch that first goal, it was a thing of beauty. And man, this Bayern team, I said this earlier on in the year in the show, that this Bayern Munich team might be one of the scariest teams in Europe. And I stand by that statement. What this Bayern Munich team this year reminds me of is that 2014 Germany squad. They were dominant, and people really didn't, I think that Bayern, in a sense, is underrated because we're not giving them proper respect. Because I know all of us, myself included, thought when they lost Lewandowski, they were going to take a step back. But I will say this Bayern team right now looks like it's better than when Lewandowski was there, which is scary because I think right now, if I had to say who I think would win the Champions League, that's tough. Obviously, I'm a huge Real Madrid fan. But I'm scared. I'm scared of Bayern. I think Bayern is the one team that could knock off Madrid because of how good they are. Man, they play such a beautiful game. Like the passes, obviously you see, man, they're beating teams 7-1, 5-0, and you're seeing the goals, and yeah, but it's really how they're getting to the goals with the 1-2 passes. It's really creative. It's creative offense and it's beautiful soccer is what it is. So I definitely think Bayern is one of the teams to watch. And I think the addition to Sadio Mane was the best thing that Bayern could do to replace Lewandowski. And look, if you think about it, everything played out to Bayern's favor. They lost. Their biggest competitor lost their biggest star in Haaland to City. Dortmund hasn't been the same without Haaland. And then who else is even close to Bayern in the Bundesliga? There's not a team that is on Bayern's level in Germany. And I will actually go as far as this. Talent-wise, I don't think there is a team in the Champions that is as good as Bayern. That is including Real Madrid with Benzema, with Vinicius, and all those guys. I believe this Bayern team might be the best side, the best version of Bayern we have ever seen. Bayern is what PSG wanted to be. They wanted to get the stars, and they were hoping that this would be what they got. And look, Bayern has proven this. All you need is one star. Because outside of Sadio Mane, who is really a star on that team? Manuel Neuer's past his prime. I wouldn't consider him a star. I'd consider him a rising star. Mueller's past his prime. You have Kimmich, who's unavailable most of the time. It's a difficult thing to explain how a team with one star could be dominating. Like Bayern Munich is such a good team. That's why, look, I think the final of the Champions League is going to be Bayern Real Madrid, and that's going to be a very, very exciting game. All right, let's move on to some NBA news as the NBA preseason kicked off a couple of nights ago, and we have a lot of stories to get into, but let's start with an injury update. The Cleveland Cavaliers center Evan Mobley will miss 1 to 2 weeks due to a right ankle sprain, the team announced Monday. Evan Mobley, such a big part of the Cavs, and a new looked Cavs because they got Donovan Mitchell out of nowhere. Literally, no one expected Donovan Mitchell to go to Cleveland. I personally thought he would have been coming to Miami. I was hoping he would come to Miami, but he ends up going to Cleveland, and now that team is so good. Do I think this Evan Mobley thing is going to impact them a lot? It's 1 to 2 weeks. He'll probably be back the second or third game of the regular season, and I think he will be fine. How good can Cleveland be is the question that everyone has on their mind, and I don't know. This team is so hard to predict because they're so young, but they have these veterans. Got this mix of like experience and youth, and yeah, that's like a championship mix. I'm not sold on their defense itself, and now adding Donovan Mitchell, who's not known for his defense, and you lose Jared Allen, you lose Larry Markkinen, you lose Colin Sexton, who are 3 really good defenders. You're now really going to be relying a lot more on Evan Mobley to be that almost like that really big center and that two-way defender that can guard both the paint and the perimeter, almost like a Rudy Gobert type. And I don't know if Evan Mobley can be that. I don't think they should play him at center. I think he's better fitted at power forward, playing in a Kevin Garnett type role. Like, be that physical guy who can grab the rebounds and then give you like 20 to 30 a game. Like, he has that range to really give you a solid, I'd say 15 to 20 each game with 12 rebounds. So Evan Mobley has such a bright future ahead of him. Now let's talk about someone else who has a bright future and who has now guaranteed himself a nice money bag. And I'm talking about my boy Tyler Hero. The reigning NBA Sixth Man of the Year, Tyler Hero, re-signs with the Heat for a 4-year, $130 million. All offseason, he was on different shows and all over his social media saying how he thinks he deserves to get paid. And look, yeah, he deserves to get paid. One of the best players on the Heat, and I do think he deserved it. Now, do I think 130 is a little much? A little too much? Yes. I would have done around 115 million. Because I think why they paid him 130 million was they are betting on him becoming something great, and I think he definitely can be. Now I just hope now that he has the money, he actually goes out and performs even better. Because last season he had career highs. He averaged 20.7 points a game and a career high 4 assists a game. And he only played in 66 games. Like, he only played in 66 out of 82 games. I think Tyler Hero really good. And I've said this before. I think Tyler Hero is like if Ray Allen and Klay Thompson were one. I think he can shoot lights out. And at the same time, he can defend the ball pretty well in the perimeter. I think he's a good defender, to say the least. So I'm excited to see what Tyler Hero does this season. Because I think the Heat really, and this is not my Miami boy talking, I think the Heat have a legitimate chance to win it all this year. If we think about it, you're getting Kyle Lowry back healthy now. You're getting Victor Oladipo healthy now. This Heat team is we are talking about a Heat team that was a shot away from overtime. I believe it was either overtime or winning the game. A shot away from forcing overtime in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I believe if Victor Oladipo was healthy and Tyler Hero stepped up, this team, we are in the finals. I love Miami's chances of a championship because how good is that East really? Everyone's talking about Brooklyn. I don't know. My issue with Brooklyn is, have we forgotten who they have? Yeah, Kevin Durant's incredible. He's, I think, when healthy, the best player in the world. Ben Simmons, has he really improved his jumper that much? No, he hasn't. And now, don't even get me started on Kyrie Irving. For you to be a contender, all 3 of you guys have to show up. Are we sure Kyrie is actually going to show up to work this year? No. We don't know because he's Kyrie Irving. It's what he does, man. Everyone's saying, oh, Brooklyn's going to be dangerous. Yeah, they'll be dangerous if Ben Simmons can improve and if Kyrie can show up. If not, Kevin Durant can't do this by himself. Not when you have lost. You lost Blake Griffin. LaMarcus Aldridge retired. You really don't have a good center. And now if Kyrie, let's say hypothetically, Kyrie does what he did last year and doesn't show up. You don't have a good backup point guard. So what? Even if Ben Simmons, here's my problem with Brooklyn. Even if Ben Simmons actually plays and Kyrie doesn't, what are you going to play? What are you going to put Ben Simmons at point guard? He can't shoot. He can't shoot the ball. And like last night, they had a game against Philly. Tyrese Maxey outplayed Ben Simmons. No offense to Tyrese Maxey. So I don't think Brooklyn is as deep of a threat to Miami. Milwaukee. What is Milwaukee really? Let's dive into this action. Incredible player. One of the best we've ever seen. Who's his second coming? Who's his second option? Chris Middleton was out the entire playoffs last year. We don't know if he can stay healthy. Drew Holiday? He's more of a he's a number 3 on a championship team any day. If you can slow down Giannis. Like, Bam, you put Bam on Giannis, Jimmy can lock down Middleton if he plays. So we've taken care of Milwaukee. Philadelphia. My issue with Philadelphia, and here is why I don't think Philly's a contender. They have Harden and Embiid, and Harden's an incredible player. Harden's a great regular season player. He disappears in the playoffs. He's been a shell of himself in the playoffs. And it's cost every single team that he's played on. Literally, you look at that Rockets. Go back to that 2018 Western Conference semifinals against the Warriors. In that Game 7, Harden went 0 for 15 in the fourth quarter. In a game in Toyota Center against the Golden State Warriors. If Harden doesn't choke there, Golden State would not have won that game because Harden, even with the 0 and 15, in the fourth quarter, and I remember this, in the fourth quarter, he had 3 good looks. One of those would have put the Rockets up double digits with less than a minute to go. And then he kept on missing to a point where Golden State got back into the game. And then last season in Philadelphia, he was decent in the Toronto series. He was nowhere to be found when he played Miami, which I believe is the reason why we won that series. I think James Harden is not a good playoff performer. He chokes. It's what he does. He's great in the regular season. He's a great guy to go watch play in the regular season because you don't know what you'll see. 30, 40. Hell, he can even give you 50. But then comes to the playoffs, he shines away from pressure. So that is why I do believe Miami could make it out of the East. Now, who is the toughest competition Miami would face in the finals? Who are the true contenders in the West? And we're going to dive into this in a future episode when I give you my rankings of the teams. Who is the best threat out of that West? Right now, I think it's Golden State. And I think Golden State is, obviously, we've seen what they did in the finals against Boston. Could they really do that again? Can they go back-to-back in a loaded Western Conference with a healthy Clipper, with Kawhi and now John Wall added to the mix? Believe it or not, with the Lakers, who I think are actually going to be a problem this year. I think Patrick Beverley helps that team so much. I think Patrick Beverley is going to be that defensive anchor and that leadership that he's going to bring, especially to Russell Westbrook. He's going to hold Westbrook accountable, which is what Russ needed. So the Lakers are actually going to be good. We are now getting a healthy Jamal Murray with Nikola Jokic. Now, outside of Golden State, the Clippers, Denver, what team in the West is better than Miami? And I think Denver's actually a debate that we could have. I think the Clippers, no debate, and the Warriors, no debate. Obviously, people are going to say Dallas. I don't think Dallas is finals worthy yet. I don't think they have the roster to make it to the finals. Phoenix is definitely never making it to the finals, not when they do what they did in Game 7. I think Miami, as of right now, I haven't seen them play yet. They're currently, I believe, playing right now. But before the start of the season, I'm going to say right now, Miami will, at the very least, will be in the finals. They are, I think, a top 3 team in the league. Yeah, I do think they're the 3rd best team in the NBA behind Denver and Golden State. So I'm excited as a Heat fan. I'm really excited for this season because maybe, just maybe, there will be another championship parade down in South Beach. All right, let's change sports here to the NFL. And I'm going to be giving you my rankings, well, 2 different rankings here. I'm going to be giving you my top 10 NFL quarterbacks, and then I'm going to start something fresh here. So each week I'm going to be giving you my power rankings for all 32 NFL teams after each week's game. I don't know if I'm going to do the quarterbacks and the positions each week. I might do that but these are my top 10 NFL quarterbacks after week 4. Get ready for this. There is a Wisconsin quarterback that is not in my top 10. Here's why I don't have Aaron Rodgers at my top 10. All of my quarterbacks in the top 10 are doing things that we really don't expect. It's been shocking to see even guys like Mahomes. Man, Mahomes, and I'll dive into this later. He just lost Tyreek Hill, and the man is making throws. He's literally playing basketball out there, guys. I watched Sunday Night Football against the Bucs. He literally did a little fadeaway pass to a receiver for a touchdown. The man is literally a Madden cheat code. And I like Mahomes. I love Mahomes. I think he is the best quarterback in the league. And then I look at my other 9 besides Mahomes. I don't see a place that you could actually put Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's dive into the list. Number 10 is Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is a bootleg Patrick Mahomes, and that is a compliment. Because look at what Kyler Murray is doing. He is man, it's so hard to stop him because he's so small, he's so fast, he's so quick. Kyler Murray is, for me, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he's a certified top 10. I think the reason I can't put him any higher is because I think all the other ones are better than him. Number 9, all right, let's get into number 9. Keep in mind, this is as of this week. My number 9 is Tua Tagovailoa is at number 9. Now, obviously, before the injury. If he doesn't get injured, and look, I do think he'll come back, hopefully. But we are talking about a man who outplayed Lamar Jackson when Lamar Jackson looked like an MVP. Let's not forget, Lamar Jackson, that game against the Dolphins, phenomenal. He played hard out. He played like he was playing for money, which he is. And Tua was better than him. Lamar Jackson played like an MVP and Tua outplayed him. And now Tua also managed to beat Mac Jones, a rising up-and-coming quarterback with Bill Belichick as his head coach. That's 1. Josh Allen, who most people will consider a top 3 quarterback in the league. And I'm going to be honest, Tua, if he doesn't get hurt, Miami has a good shot at beating Cincinnati. And Tua is so good, man. He stepped up, and it sucks that he got injured because I do think this Tua, what we are seeing now is what I think he could have been all along, barring the injuries at Alabama. So I think Tua is phenomenal, and I'm wishing him a really speedy recovery so he can get back to doing what he loves. All right, number 8, Joe Burrow. At the beginning of the season, I would not have put Burrow as a top 10 quarterback. But look, Burrow, man, he's dealing with a lot. His O-line was terrible at the beginning of the year, and he still managed to put up really good numbers. Because he has like outplayed really, really good quarterbacks. Like the man right now is 2-2, and I know that doesn't look like a good record. But think about what he doesn't have a great O-line. He really doesn't. We saw that in the Super Bowl. He got sacked a ton. We've seen it this season, and he's still managing to win games. Obviously, the loss to the Cowboys hurts, but I think Joe Burrow's damn good. All right, number 7, Matthew Stafford at number 7. Now, this is maybe where I could see the debate saying, oh, Stafford and not Rodgers. Here's why. Aaron Rodgers, is he really doing anything we didn't expect him to do? He's not. He's being Aaron Rodgers. Now, Matthew Stafford, he's playing so well. He's playing better than he did last season when he won the Super Bowl. And he lost one of his best weapons in Odell Beckham Jr. He's not there. Offensive linemen left and right this year, and they are playing so well. All right, so now, before we get into the top 5, there's one man who barely missed the mark, and that is Russell Wilson, Mr. Broncos country himself. The reason I cannot put him in the top 5, and I get it, it wasn't his fault, but that Seattle game. I cannot put Russell Wilson in the top 5 after that Seattle game. Man, I can't do it because Russell Wilson, I get it, his coach made a mistake there. But man, you're playing a team whose quarterback is Geno Smith, and you lose. Like, you lose to Geno Smith. I don't care if it was the coach's fault. It's like, you are the leader of that team. You shouldn't be in a position you even have to make those timeout calls. So that's my only problem with Russell Wilson. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. I think he's really, really good. Now, the only thing I do want to see him is I want to see him go up against Herbert. I want to see him how he does against Mahomes. And I definitely think Russell Wilson, who knows, maybe the next time I do this, he could be in the top 5. I just can't put him in there because of the Seattle game. Now, number 5, Justin Herbert. Man, Justin Herbert, he's a beast. On another level. He took that shot to the ribs against the Chiefs, came back, and still played. That shows the heart that this man has. And he has an arm. He has a crazy good arm. He is really, for me, he is the modern day version of Peyton Manning. And like, he has a great arm, and he doesn't really have that great of a team. That Chargers team, besides the defense, their defense is phenomenal, but he's never had a true number 1 receiver, which is why I think what Herbert and Tua are doing is more impressive than what Joe Burrow has done in his career. Because Burrow, yeah, sure, maybe the O-line wasn't great, but he had Jamar Chase, he had T. Higgins, he's had great receivers. Before this year, Tua didn't have great weapons. Waddle was up and coming, and now he's a star. He didn't have Tyreek until this year. And then Justin Herbert still doesn't have weapons. He doesn't have a true number 1 receiver who you can point at and say that man is a star. And then his toughness, man, his toughness to take a shot to the ribs, come back and play, go back and play the next game is incredible. My number 4 quarterback, and man, Tom Brady, he's still Tom Brady. Let's not pretend like Tom Brady's fallen off a cliff. But I think my only issue with Tom is he's let his personal issues and his off the field things get in the way. And yeah, I get it. He's going through a lot, but I just think Brady, he is the one quarterback on this list that I could see him actually going backwards in this list instead of forwards. I don't see him unless he somehow has a crazy game, like a Tua type performance. I don't think he'll be in the top 3 this season. And look, I think he could actually, there could be a time, maybe the next time I do this, we could be talking Brady in that 6 to 7 range. I get it, the offensive line wasn't great against Mahomes. You're 2-2, and your 2 wins are against teams who you should be beating. A Cowboys team who lost Dak Prescott and had to go in with a backup, and then Jameis Winston and the Saints. Those aren't impressive wins. Like, I'm sorry, Tom, but and your 2 losses against Mahomes and Stafford, 2 top 10 quarterbacks. He played decent in the Sunday night game. He did not look good in the Rams game. All right, now let's get into the top 3. At number 3, Josh Allen. Man, Josh Allen I think he is a really good quarterback. He's improved so much throughout his career. And yeah, he's got the weapons, got a great arm. I think he's top 3. And honestly, I think the top 3, you could actually, they're all kind of tied for first. So you could really make a case for either one of these 3 to be number one. I think Josh Allen played super well against Lamar Jackson this past weekend. I think Josh Allen has played so well throughout. Really, last season and this season, he's just skyrocketed into the superstardom. I just need to see more. And I think the reason why I can't put him number two or number one for me is because of the loss to the Dolphins. As I've stated on this show many times, I'm a huge Miami sports fan. I'm a Dolphins fan for life, and I'm a Heat fan for life. But let's be honest, Josh Allen, you had the Miami defense out there for close to 40 minutes, and you couldn't win the game. Had more time of possession than Tua. Yet again, Tua beat you. So I get it. You're a great talent, but to be that legend, I think this is what for me separates the greats. I think if you give Tom Brady 40 minutes against any defense, not just the Dolphins, give Tom Brady 40 minutes of just 40 minutes of possession, that game is a blowout. Give Mahomes 40 minutes against any defense, that game is a blowout. Josh Allen, you have 40 minutes. You had the ball for 40 minutes. There's no reason why you should have lost that game. Number two for me is Lamar Jackson. Lamar playing out of his mind. He is playing for that, not just max contract that I think he should. He absolutely deserves to get paid. He's also playing for another MVP. And it's a smart decision because here's why. I think right now, Lamar is thinking, how can I get paid? But how can I get paid more? Now, look, yeah, he has leverage over the Ravens because he's their guy. He's the quarterback. He's the franchise quarterback. So obviously they're going to have to pay him sooner rather than later. What if, hypothetically, he wins his second MVP and he somehow manages to win a Super Bowl? Then Lamar Jackson has all power in the world because he just won another MVP. He just won them the Super Bowl. They have to pay him. So I think Lamar Jackson knows that, and that's why he's balling out. And then my number one, the best quarterback in the league for me right now, as a surprise to absolutely anyone, it's Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes just lost the best wide receiver in the league in Tyreek, and he looks incredible. He looks like he actually looks without Tyreek than with Tyreek. He looks more free. It finally feels, and this is going to be crazy for me to say, it finally feels like it's his offense and his team. Because I think, yeah, he was great. He's been great his entire career. He's been incredible. But this is my opinion. That Chiefs team, that Chiefs offense especially, it never felt like it was truly his team. It never felt like it was his offense. Because it always felt like it was like Tyreek. Tyreek was I believe 1A to 1B to Mahomes. Now Mahomes is the true number one. He has the keys to the car and he is showing how fast he can go. He is doing things. Man, the throws that he is doing are just unhuman. There is no quarterback that should be doing these. He literally is doing basketball throws in the end zone in Tampa Bay. There was a play in the game that Levante David of the Buccaneers, and I can't remember who else, tried to tackle him, blocked it with the shoulder, side throw to Kelsey. I'm like, man, this man's not human. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. All right, those are my quarterback rankings. Let's get into my power ranking, and this is gonna be very, very interesting. Now I'm going to go 32 just to give it a little bit more suspense to see who's at number one. And this is not just based on record because I'm saying this now. I have a 3-1 team outside of the top 15, I think. This is just, well, first of all, this is my opinion. And then second of all, this is on how have you played, how have you looked? And number 32 is the Houston Texans. Shouldn't come as any surprise. They are the worst team in the league. They are all 3-1. Yes, they drew. They tied. I can't remember to who. But the Texans look bad. I can't sugarcoat this, Texans fans. Y'all look bad. Y'all look bad. And this is it's tough because, yeah, you lost Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. But man, Houston just, these guys need a fresh air, and I think they are the worst team in the league. At number 31, this pains me to say, number 31, the Carolina Panthers. I love the Panthers. Robbie Anderson, I've had the opportunity to meet him, and he's such a nice guy. So I feel so bad to put the Panthers at 31, but here's why. Man, you're 1-3. Baker Mayfield looks bad. He looks like the worst quarterback in the league. And this is a league where Joe Flacco is starting, where Geno Smith is currently actually playing. How Teddy Bridgewater's actually took a snap for the Dolphins, and Baker Mayfield looks worse. That is truly impressive if you can look worse than Teddy Bridgewater. And man, Carolina, they really are in a winnable. They're in a winnable division because Tom Brady is in a midlife crisis. The Saints have no idea what they're doing. Who else is on oh my god, I forgot who else is in that division. Yeah, it's Panthers, Saints, Falcons. The Falcons. Falcons are just the Falcons. They can't hold a lead. So yeah, I think the Panthers. I think the Panthers are the second worst team, and the only reason I don't put them last is because Houston hasn't won a game. Number 30 is Washington. I think Washington, the Commanders, are bad. Their defense with Chase Young is really good, though. I like their defense. Here's my thing with the Commanders. I've always liked their defense. I've never loved their offense, and I think I thought Carson Wentz was going to come in and be impactful. But it's Carson Wentz, and apparently he's not. Washington struggled. They looked really bad against Dallas this weekend, with Dallas playing their backup quarterback. I don't know, man. It just looks bad. Number 29, the Chicago Bears. Yeah, they're 2-2, but like when you're a 500 team, in any sport, when you're when you have an even record, the way I see it is there's two types of 500 teams. Either like the 500 teams who just got unlucky with the losses and can still improve, or you're the 500 team who got really lucky with the wins and who can't improve. That's where the Bears are at. The Bears, they look like instead of getting better, they look like they're getting worse. Justin Fields, I'm not sold on Justin Fields yet. I think you have good receivers in Allen Robinson and guys like that, and you still can't do it, man. Like I'm starting to think that Chicago's just cursed because they haven't had a good quarterback in years. All right, number 28, Pittsburgh Steelers, 1-3. I don't think this is this shocking. I expected this after the Big Ben retiring, and then they're still trying to figure out what to do at quarterback. They're now going with Kenny Pickett, who's as of this morning is now named the new starter. So I think Pittsburgh is going to improve. This is what happens when Mitchell Trubisky is your quarterback, man. That's why I'm surprised Trubisky even started. Man, I think Pittsburgh they have really good players. They have Mika Fitzpatrick. They've got Chase Claypool. They've got really good guys. Don't know what's wrong with Pittsburgh. Now, let's move on. Number 27. The New England Patriots. Yes, Bill Belichick is the 27th best team in the league. Now, in their defense, even though I don't like defending Patriots fans, they haven't had Mac Jones is injured. They're currently playing with a third string quarterback. But you still lost to the Dolphins when you had Mac Jones, so never forget that, Patriots fans. My problem with the Patriots team right now, if you go back to even with the Brady years, they've never had great offenses, but they had really, really dominant defense with Gilmore on that team and Eric Flowers and guys like that. Now, this year, they have a subpar offense at best, and they have a really bad defense. Like their defense, they struggle in the secondary, they struggle in the D-line, and their linebackers are nowhere to be seen. Come on, man. Let's go to number 26, the Cleveland Browns, 2-2. Man, the Browns, I think Cleveland is, like I said earlier, they're one of those 500 teams who can improve. They're going to get Deshaun Watson back later on in the year, and then I think that's when we're going to see Cleveland really look good. I don't think Jacoby Brissett has done that bad. I just think it takes time for the guys to really gel, like the chemistry to be there. That's my only concern when Deshaun Watson does come back after that period of time. He's going to be the starter, obviously, but it's then going to be about building that trust with his players, and to do that so late in the season could come back and hurt them. All right, let's go to number 25, the New York Jets. Yeah, New York, I'm sorry. Honestly, I'm going to be honest, I'm way surprised that I put you at 25. The only reason you're not lower is because you're better than every other team. They've had injuries to Zach Wilson, and obviously Joe Flacco's been the quarterback. I think the Jets are just the Jets. They're never truly bad, but they're just mediocre. They just can't ever reach the line of like, okay, we can actually be something this year, but they're also never bad enough to have the number 1 pick. All right, number 24, New Orleans Saints. Look, I would explain professionally why, but this is just because of Jameis Winston. New Orleans fans, if you replaced your quarterback, I promise you, with the roster you have, you would be a top 10 team. But Jameis Winston is throwing really good balls to the other team. He's throwing touchdown type passes to the other. He has more pick 6 touchdowns than passing touchdowns. How do you do that, man? You're paid to throw the ball to your All right, number 23, the Indianapolis Colts, won with a record of 1-2-1. Indianapolis I think they're at a weird stage where they have Matt Ryan as quarterback. My problem is I don't think Matt Ryan should be in Indianapolis. Don't get me wrong, Matt Ryan is an incredible player. I think he's like doesn't fit the mold to what Indianapolis needs, because Indianapolis feels to me personally like a team that should be building to the future, because they got Michael Pittman, they've got Zach Taylor. They've got Jonathan Taylor. Sorry, Zach Taylor is the Bengals head coach. So yeah, I think Indianapolis, Matt Ryan feels to me more like a win now move when the rest of the roster is really built like a win in the future rebuilding type thing. All right, number 22 is Detroit. Detroit 1-3. I think Detroit, I'm going to go bold here and say if Detroit could clean up can get healthy, because they're missing 2 offensive linemen, if they can get their O-line health and Jared Goff be what he was in weeks 1 and 2, I think this team could really surprise a lot of people, especially if the Packers still have the receiving problems they have. So I think Detroit isn't that bad. Number 21, the first time we see a top 10 quarterback team pop up here. Denver. Number 21 is the Denver Broncos, 2-2. I think Denver has a lot of struggles. Their coach, at times he looks nervous. He looks too nervous. You saw it in week 1 against the Seahawks. You've seen it a lot. And I think Russell Wilson has to step into that. I'm Russell Wilson. It's my team. And yeah, that does mean you're the face of the franchise. But that also means you have to be a leader. You look at Tom Brady. He's like, yeah, he does the publicity for his teams, but he leads them. Not just on offense, he gets those guys motivated. As a great quarterback, that's what you have to do. That's your job. I think that's what Russell Wilson has to do. If he can get these guys on the same page, we are talking about Denver potentially winning that division. All right, let's dive into the top 20. Number 20, the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, they are 1-3, but here is why I believe they are a top 20 team. Derek Carr is going to figure out his struggles. I think he hasn't looked good, but I think that's just fatigue, honestly. Him and Devontae Adams still are trying to get that chemistry going, and I really think Las Vegas will be back. Number 19, the Arizona Cardinals. They are 2-2. They have Kyler Murray, but these guys are such a good team. And they remind me a lot of the Dolphins. I believe it was last year when we were we started the season off losing a lot of games, and then we came back and did everything that we did. This Cardinals team reminds me of that, because they have a young quarterback and they don't really have star power. They don't have crazy good stars. DeAndre Hopkins, honestly, is not a star for me. He isn't what he was in Houston. And it's that for me is sad. That the prime of DeAndre Hopkins was wasted in Houston because Houston couldn't figure out what in the hell they were doing. And that's sad, man, because I think DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers of all time. All right, let's go to number 18. Talked about Russell Wilson earlier. His former team is actually at number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. My God, never in my life would I have ever thought I'd be putting a Geno Smith-led team in the top 20. Guess times change. Seattle, they've had good performances. They had a good performance against Denver, and this team is scary. They are an underdog. They're one of those teams that I think teams look at and say, "Oh, it's going to be a free win." No, it's not, because they have nothing to lose, and they're playing like it. And when a team has nothing to lose, that's when they're dangerous, because they will throw out anything and you won't see it coming. All right, number 17, the Atlanta Falcons. I think Atlanta played really well against the Panthers. I believe it was this weekend. I think Marcus Mariota is showing why he still got it. And I think here's what I think is coming back to haunt this team. Calvin Ridley's suspension. As you know, as some of you may know, earlier in the offseason, Calvin Ridley, the star wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, got suspended for an entire season over gambling. He got caught placing a few bets on his team. The NFL suspended him for a year. Then Deshaun Watson did what he did and doesn't get a year, but that's no here nor there apparently. All right, number 16, the team with the best running back in the league, the Tennessee Titans. But I'm going to be honest, Derrick Henry is not looking like the best running back in the league. He's looking human. And that's why I think this team is so low, because I think, believe it or not, in this, as a Dolphins fan, it's crazy that I'm even saying this. Ryan Tannehill's a really good quarterback, shockingly, this season. He's actually good. I think Tennessee is really Tennessee. If Derrick Henry can get back to being that monster from last season, this team, we could be talking about one of the best teams in the AFC, and they are so good. Okay, New York. Please get ready for this because you are probably going to rip my head off after I say this. The New York Giants are the 15th best team. I get it. They're 3-1. They were undefeated. They lost to the Cowboys a couple nights ago. Can we stop pretending like the Giants were actually going to be something this season? It's the Giants, guys. I'm not convinced that Daniel Jones is an actually good quarterback. Saquon Barkley is looking amazing. Outside of Saquon Barkley, who do they have that can actually be like that can actually step up? And yeah, they were 3-0. They were 3-0. Who were they playing? Chicago. They were playing Detroit, and they played Pittsburgh. Those are not good teams to play. All right, New York. I need to see the Giants do this. I think, look, the game against Dallas was their best chance because it's a really good team in Dallas, and they don't have Dak, so that was the best chance at winning. All right, number 14 is the Los Angeles Chargers. I really do like the Chargers. I wish I could put them higher. I just think the way things went down in that Thursday night game against Kansas City, where you had the lead for most of the game and then you blow it. Obviously, it's Patrick Mahomes, but still, there's something about this team. I'm not fully convinced. I'm not fully convinced on the Chargers. On the sole fact, God forbid Herbert actually goes down and gets an injury. Like, yeah, you have, but like, if that happens, what do you do? Like, are we certain they could get better? Like, yeah, Tua's down, but I think the Dolphins are actually going to be fine. Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater isn't great. He gets way too much hate. I think people should go back and watch what he did in Minnesota. I think Bridgewater can be decent, and that's all Miami really needs him to do. You just need a quarterback to be decent until Tua can come back. If you're decent, just get the ball to Tyreek Hill. We have that luxury. Miami has the luxury of just being able to get the ball to Tyreek Hill and let him do his thing. So I think Miami will be fine. And I just don't think the Chargers without Herbert will be fine. And even with Herbert, this team, their O-line is. And that showed in that Kansas City game. Man, there's no reason your quarterback should be taking hits like that. So that's why I can't put them higher. All right, number 13. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug Peterson is right now my favorite to win Coach of the Year. You're looking at what Jacksonville is doing. Man, Jacksonville. They're a good team. A damn good quarterback. Obviously, he had like that. He didn't look good this weekend with 5 turnovers, but that's nor here nor there. I'm a fan of Jacksonville. I really like watching them play. It's really what their franchise has been. They've never been the most flashy team. They've never been like the most flashy team in the NFL, but they're a fun team to watch. Now, for a long time before, like, I think from 2015, I think until the Tua era, Jacksonville was actually more fun to watch than the Dolphins. So I think there was a time period around 2015 through the season before Tua that Jacksonville was the best team in Florida. All right, number 12. The Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins is balling out. The only loss is to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, I believe. Man, Minnesota's so good. Here's what I mean by that. They have everything in place to be a dominant team. They hold themselves back at times. They think they're not as good as they truly are. And I think that really does hold them back in anything. If you know you have the potential to do something great, to hell with the doubts, just do it. Like, Minnesota is in that position where they know they can be a Super Bowl contender. They just don't. They're not there yet, and that's why I think they're just borderline being a top 10 team. Now, another team that is borderline and outside the top 10 is Cincinnati. Cincinnati is at 11. I think Cincinnati, the reason they're not top 10 is because of the Cowboys loss. Cooper Rush was starting quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott was struggling that game, and you still lost. I think if you win that game, we're now talking about a team that's 3-2, and I think they are a top 10 team with that win. Now, the top 10 teams, my top 10s. I'm gonna give you like the stats and the reasoning why they are. All right. At number 10, the Los Angeles Rams. Here's why. They have a total of 79 first downs. They have 7 touchdowns. Key wins over Arizona and Atlanta. Those are the 2 wins they have. They are 2-2. At number 9, Baltimore. They are 2-2. The reason they're not higher is, once again, that Miami lost. They have a total of 77 first downs, 15 touchdowns. They have wins over the Jets and the Patriots. That's another thing that holds them back. Your 2 wins are against the Jets and the Patriots. That's my only issue. All right, let's get into it. Number 8. This is going to be surprising. Number 8 is San Francisco. Because here's the thing. They are 2-2, but they dealt with that Trey Lance injury. Now they're they're re-putting Garoppolo into the system. But this is a system that has 68 total touchdowns. 68 total first downs, 8 touchdowns. And they've beaten the Rams and the Seahawks. Those are good teams to beat. So number 8 is the Niners. At number 7, Stephen A is not going to like this one, my friends. The Dallas Cowboys. They are 3-1. 3-1 without their starting quarterback. The only loss is to Tom Brady. When your only loss is to the greatest quarterback of all time, I think you're doing something right. Not to mention, here's the thing. With no Dak Prescott, they've had 69 total first downs, 6 touchdowns, and these are wins. All 3 of these wins happened without Dak Prescott. Cincinnati, New York, and Washington. Cincinnati was in the Super Bowl last year. New York was undefeated at the time, and Washington's just Washington. All right, let's get into it. Number 6, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Part of the reason why they're not at the top 5 is because I think they could be better. I have high expectations for the Bucs. And look, they're not bad. They're 2-2, 77 total first downs, 8 touchdowns, and wins over the Dallas Cowboys and the Saints. If their win was, I think if they would have had better wins, they'd be higher in the list. You beat the Cowboys, but that Cowboys team towards the end of the game didn't have Dak Prescott. And the Saints, like I said, your defense caught a break because you're playing against Jameis Winston. All right, now my top 5 teams in the NFL. This is going to make me very, very happy to say at number 5, the Miami Dolphins. They are 3-1, 80 total first downs, 11 touchdowns. And get ready for this. They have beaten teams like the New England Patriots, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills. Miami has started the season looking like true contender. And I believe if Tua can come back healthy and if he can come back the way he's been playing, there is nothing stopping the Dolphins from being a true contender. They've beaten really good teams. And this team is really good and really scary. And I don't think teams give us the proper respect. I think they look at the Dolphins and they say, oh, that's the Dolphins. But come on, man. It's time to put respect on our names. The Pegasus Media Twitter account tweeted something saying that after the Ravens game. And I agree with that tweet. All right, number 4, the Green Bay Packers. Shockingly, the Packers are in my top 5 teams, but Aaron Rodgers is not on my top 10 quarterbacks. All right, these guys have 80 first downs, 9 touchdowns. They've beaten Tampa, Chicago, and the Saints. Look, I think Green Bay is not going to be. I think Green Bay is overrated because let me read those wins. Tampa, Tom Brady had a midlife crisis that game. He didn't look good. Chicago, they suck. And then the Saints, you can't, man, I need to see Green Bay do this against teams like the Bills, like the Chiefs, like Baltimore, like the Niners. So like that's what I think is holding them. And another thing is they don't have a good receiving core. That's my problem with it. All right, number 3, team that the Dolphins beat. Gotta throw that out there. The Buffalo Bills. 3-1, 99 total first downs, 13 touchdowns. They've beaten Los Angeles, Tennessee, and Baltimore. And here's another thing. Stephon Diggs leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns. Josh Allen leads the league in passing. They're at number 3. Just because, man, look, they're good, but I don't think they're better than the next 2. Before I tell you guys the top 2, try to guess who number 1 is. I promise you most of you won't. Because when I was writing it, I was like, yeah. Oh. All right, number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, the Chiefs are the second best team in the NFL. 95 total first downs. They've got 16 touchdowns. They've beaten the Chargers, the Bucks, and the Cardinals. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. They have their defense is really good. They are a good team. The reason they're not number 1, because this team is City of Brotherly Love gets to celebrate something. The best team in the NFL, according to me, and in my opinion, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Never in my life would I ever thought I'd be saying that. They are 4-0, something interesting. 98 total first downs. They've converted 26 out of their 63rd downs, 15 touchdowns, and they've beaten teams like Detroit, Minnesota, Washington, and Jacksonville. And not just that, they've looked really, really good in those games. And that is the power rankings for the NFL after week 4. Next week, I will give you my updated list after week 5. And that was the first episode, ladies and gentlemen. That was enough. That was so fun to do. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe and turn on your bell notifications so you don't miss it. And if you're on Spotify, don't forget to favorite it so you never miss a recording. And thank you so much, everybody.